What is mastery of Spanish? We all have a concept of what it means to be a true master of a second language. You're just in the zone, in a conversation, understanding everything you're hearing, rattling off everything you're thinking flawlessly. You never get tripped up by tricky grammar. You never have to find the right word. You always just say everything you want to say. It's like you and the language are all just in sync. So no matter where you want to go, the language is right there with you. An easy analogy for this is driving. So when you don't know how to drive a vehicle, you're going to hesitate at every step. Like just trying to back it out of its parking spot involves a whole bunch of separate steps, and you have to figure out each one individually, or you're not going to feel very safe. And that's like in a language trying to interpret every single word or grammatical structure separately. But if you're a master at driving a vehicle, you can throw the car in reverse, pull out onto the road, and be moving along in traffic without even thinking about it. It doesn't feel like dozens of different steps. It all feels like one simple action that you can complete all at once so effortlessly that you can be doing something else at the same time, like thinking about your to-do list or listening to a song. This level of mastery takes a lot of practice for any skill. And mastery of a language is particularly difficult because you're not just learning how to do something new, you're learning how to think differently. Every single sentence that you might say or even think in English requires a bunch of separate words and grammatical elements that all have to shift around to work in Spanish. And it's not just a matter of translating each word one at a time, as you probably already know if you've ever tried this. Not only is that really slow and painful, it just really doesn't work. Sentences have to be completely reorganized to transfer from one language into another. So how does anyone go from only speaking English to being able to rattle off natural-sounding Spanish in entire sentences effortlessly? Well, I'm here to tell you that you can achieve this type of mastery. It just may require a path that's a little different from what you've tried before. If you've tried learning Spanish by just trying to pick up more and more words and phrases, you've probably run into a dead end at some point. Maybe you've been learning colors, numbers, greetings, maybe the names of some foods, but at the end of the day, it kind of feels like you've just been playing with the car radio instead of actually learning how to drive the vehicle. And that's because mastering a language so well that you can just jump into a conversation and get along effortlessly requires some core skills that take months and months of hard work to master. In this video, I'm going to lay out what those skills are and show you how you can master them in the right order. I'll even give you a timeline of how long it takes so that you can go from playing around with the radio to actually getting out in traffic and feeling safe and comfortable driving your Spanish down the road. To do this, let's start by talking about the essential skills that are core to driving the Spanish language. Think about the core skills required to drive a car. You can't get out on the road without knowing how to move the car between park, reverse, and drive, use the pedals, and use the steering wheel. A language is quite a bit more complicated than a car, and the core skills for getting out on the road are very complex. But here's the short list. First, there's conjugating the top 8 verbs on the fly. Ser, estar, tener, haber, ir, hacer, poder, and querer. Second, there's navigating all the most important pronouns with ease. Subject pronouns, direct objects, indirect objects, reflexives, demonstratives, possessives, and prepositional pronouns. Third, there's using correct connecting words and sentence structure. And then there's mastering all the rest of the top 200 words in the language. And mastery means that you're not just able to come up with the right conjugation or pronoun in the moment, but you can also understand it effortlessly when you hear it. You know all of these core elements so well that you don't even have to put any thought into any of it, whether it's putting your own Spanish sentences together or understanding when you hear someone say something to you at full speed. So why did we choose this stuff specifically? Well, there are 2 answers, and the first one is simply the data. These are the elements of Spanish that are used the most by native speakers. Specifically, the top 200 words in the language, which include lots of forms of these 8 verbs and all of these pronouns, make up 60% of all words spoken in Spanish. You can actually dive into the stats yourself at the Wiktionary page linked in the description of this YouTube video. But it's also not just about some list of numbers. This list of core skills is also what we've found to be crucial for getting you driving in Spanish. These 8 verbs and these essential pronouns and sentence structures are analogous to the gears and pedals and steering wheel of the language. Sure, they may not include a ton of fancy vocabulary that you can use, but you can pull out into traffic and start having conversations. Focusing on this stuff will get you the best return on the effort you put in. Now, there's a chance that you're watching this video and you're kind of disappointed by this list because you were hoping for a fancier list of more interesting vocabulary. And we will get to the interesting stuff in a little bit, but I have a challenge for you. You may think you know this stuff, like, of course I've learned ser and estar and tener and haber, but have you actually mastered them? Here's the kind of test you can do to see if you've truly mastered things. Let's say we're talking about ser and estar. If you're really a master of them, you should be so good at conjugating these verbs that you can say things like this without even thinking about finding the right forms. It was my city when I was a kid, but it's far away. Era mi ciudad cuando era niño, pero está muy lejos. She's my sister. I want her to be here. Es mi hermana. Quiero que esté aquí. So what we're talking about here is knowing these core skills so well that it feels the same as just pulling out into the road without thinking about it. Is that how well you've mastered these verbs, pronouns, and top vocabulary? If not, that's what I recommend focusing on. Mastery of the whole language depends on these core skills. But let's also be fair. At some point, to be a good driver, you do have to know how to use the wipers and the turn signals. And your passengers aren't going to be very happy if you don't know how to use the car's stereo and air controls. And then there's fancy stuff like parallel parking and backing up with a trailer. Okay, I'm probably taking this whole car analogy too far, but let's look at the next skills that we have our coaching students learn in Spanish. There's the next 10 important verbs in this order: saber, decir, dar, poner, suponer, ver, venir, hablar, pasar, and beber. And then there's the top 400 words in frequency order. Again, this is based both on data and on how far each of these skills is going to take you. All of these verbs are used in such a wide variety of ways that you can do all kinds of things in Spanish once you've mastered them. And the data says that you're going to be hearing them constantly, so it's really important to understand them by heart. Then, from this point, we go further down the frequency list, mastering another 600 words with our students, including another 90 verbs. So the point is that this approach means that instead of playing around with the car radio, you can actually become a true master of the language simply by following a series of steps, one at a time. Imagine knowing that each thing that you're working on is truly the most important thing to be working on right now and will get you huge returns on your ability to navigate the Spanish language in real life like a master driver. At LearnCraft Spanish, we've been experimenting with this concept of mastery for almost 10 years, and we've been polishing our roadmap to fluency with thousands and thousands of one-on-one coaching students. At this point, we have enough data and personal experience that we can lay out the entire roadmap, including how long it takes to master each step of the puzzle so that you can simply follow the steps and become a fluent Spanish speaker, a true master of the language. To be specific, for most students who have about 10 hours a week to work on Spanish, about 1 or 2 hours a day, it takes about 12 months to reach a serious level of fluency with mastery of the top 100 verbs and the top 1,000 words. If you have Spanish speakers in your life that you want to connect with on a deeper level, If you're devoted to becoming fluent in Spanish and you're willing to put in the hard work that this requires, you can use SpanishVideoCourse.com to access our entire core curriculum for free. And if you're watching this before December 8 of 2023, you have a one-time opportunity to work with us for 12 months all the way to fluency for an extremely special price on coaching. Check out the link in the description of this video for details. But if you can't afford coaching, that's fine. Feel free to use the free curriculum at SpanishVideoCourse.com, and also stay tuned to this channel because I'm about to release a follow-up video to help you figure out how quickly you personally should move through the 1,000-word roadmap all the way to fluency, even if you're not one of our coaching students. Watch for that video and lots more free study tips on this channel, and here's to achieving true mastery of the Spanish language.